All right, let's get into one of the greatest, most baffling unsolved mysteries out there. We're going to talk about a true American legend, the incredible case of D.B. Cooper.
You know, the whole story really starts with this one kind of chillingly simple description. He was dressed simply. A suit, a tie, nothing you'd look at twice. And that's the whole point, right? The fact that he was so completely unremarkable was probably his greatest weapon.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It all starts with the unbelievably ordinary beginning of this whole thing. The man on the plane.
So picture this. It's the day before Thanksgiving, 1971. A guy who looks like any other businessman boards a plane. Suit, tie, sunglasses, the works. He bought his ticket under the name Dan Cooper. And yeah, that whole DB thing was actually a media mistake that just stuck. But the point is, nobody, and I mean nobody, gave him a second glance.
So he sits down, the plane takes off, and then he makes his first move. He just calmly passes a folded note to a flight attendant. And she does what anyone would probably do, assumes it's a phone number or something, and just slips it in her pocket without even looking.
And this is the moment right out of a movie. The exact moment everything changes. He leans in, real quiet, and says to her, "You might want to read that." The polite, calm menace in that one sentence, that's what kicks off this whole insane story. And with that one quiet instruction, the whole situation just explodes. Because in that note, well, there was a bomb threat and a demand. The note gets straight to the point. He has a bomb. And to prove he's not messing around, he calmly opens his briefcase just enough for her to see inside, a tangle of wires, red cylinders, the whole deal. The threat just became very, very real.
So what did he want? Well, first up was the money. $200,000 to be exact. And remember, this is 1971. That's a huge amount of cash, worth well over $1 million today. Then came his second demand, and this is where the story gets really weird. 4 parachutes. 4. Why 4? That single question has puzzled investigators for decades. Was he bluffing that he had an accomplice? Was it a clever way to make sure they didn't give him a rigged one? It's still one of the biggest question marks in the whole case.
So, this brings us to the absolute climax of the story, the part that turned a regular hijacking into an enduring legend, the jump into darkness. On the ground, everything went exactly to his plan. The plane lands in Seattle, the FBI delivers the cash and the parachutes. In exchange, Cooper lets all the passengers go, but he keeps a small crew on board and orders the plane to take off again, flying straight into a dark and stormy night.
I mean, just try to imagine it. They're flying low and slow, just like he told them to, somewhere over these dense, unforgiving forests in the middle of nowhere. And the weather is just awful. Freezing rain, high winds. It's a terrible night to be flying, let alone anything else.
Then he does something that's almost unbelievable. He has the crew lower the staircase at the back of the plane, mid-flight. You see, this specific model of plane, a Boeing 727, had this feature. The second those stairs go down, the wind is roaring, the cold is biting. It must have been total chaos in there.
He secures the heavy bag of money to himself, straps on one of the parachutes, walks down those stairs into the storm, and jumped.
He leaped off that plane into the freezing air, into a raging storm, into pure black nothing. And that was it. That was the last time anyone ever saw or heard from D.B. Cooper. He was just gone. So, what happens next? Well, the crime itself was over, but the story was just getting started. This is how it became the unsolved legend.
The FBI launched one of the biggest manhunts in its entire history. They combed through every inch of that wilderness. Forests, rivers, mountains, you name it. For years, the search went on. And for years, they found absolutely nothing. No parachute, no briefcase, no body, not a single trace of the man.
Then, in 1980, nearly a decade later, a little piece of evidence finally shows up. A kid digging on a riverbank finds 3 rotting bundles of $20 bills. They run the serial numbers. Yep, it's the ransom money. But instead of solving the case, it just made things weirder. Why was only a tiny bit of the money there? And how did it get there, miles away from where they thought he jumped?
So this brings us to the first huge question that keeps this legend alive. Did he actually survive that jump? I mean, the odds were just stacked impossibly against him. The brutal weather, the darkness, the freezing temperatures, the rugged terrain below. Most experts will tell you, flat out, it was just not survivable.
And what about the guy himself? Was D.B. Cooper even his real name? Almost certainly not. It was just a ghost identity, created for a single night. Despite thousands of suspects over the years, the true identity of the man in the suit remains a total mystery.
Which leads you to the most incredible question of all. What if it wasn't just a desperate act? What if we've been looking at it all wrong? What if this was all part of a perfect, meticulous plan, cooked up by an expert who knew exactly what he was doing, and simply got away with it?
And that's really where the story leaves us. A man either attempted the impossible and vanished into history that night, a ghost story in the dark woods, or he got away with the perfect crime, living out the rest of his life with a secret that has fascinated all of us for more than half a century.